afternoon. This Father's Day, families across the St. Louis region woke to the news of yet another mass shooting. Initial reports of 10 of our babies shot downtown and a young life lost. It's every parent's worst nightmare, tenfold. And my heart goes out to all of the families in pain today. All those attending will carry with them the scars, physical and mental, from the gun violence that tore into their lives. Chief Tracy briefed me on the incident early this morning, and as I usually do, right after we got off the phone, I went and spoke with my son. He's 15, and so I know he would prefer to sleep in, but sadly, he's no stranger to gun violence in this city. And just like I want to support him, he supports me too. The teenage mind is difficult to understand, but it's usually best to go straight to the source. We hugged, and I asked him, what do kids your age do for fun on the weekends nowadays? And see, when I was his age, my friends and I had plenty of options. We go to teen clubs or skating rinks. There are places to go, things to do, and we were safe. Not so much anymore. Aiden told me that usually he and his friends go to Six Flags or hang out at someone's house. And sometimes they head to Kirkwood to pick up food and walk around. And I'm glad my son has a supportive group of friends where they can offer those kinds of spaces. But for our babies living in households struggling to make ends meet, where can they go to see their friends and have fun? All too often, the answer leads to something dangerous and unfortunately tragic situations like this one. Make no mistake, the violence these children experienced last night is intolerable and unacceptable. The St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department's summer detail responded quickly and heroically to the scene. But officers respond after the shooting starts. And we as a city, as a community, and as a region must offer our young people safe spaces before it escalates into dangerous late night parties and cubicles and office buildings. A police response is not enough to keep our young people out of harm's way. While our understanding of this tragedy continues to evolve and the police department's investigation is ongoing, here's what we do know. In the past few weeks, we've seen youth from as far as Jefferson and Lincoln County face citations downtown. We're seeing downtown St. Louis become a place for teens from across the region to gather on late nights. The city of St. Louis is leveraging every resource we have, making major investments in youth programming and running our Summer Fun STL program, working with community partners to create safe educational spaces for kids while they're out of school. The St. Louis Agency on Training and Employment is offering summer as well as year-round youth jobs. The agency's Youth Build program, which connects young people ages 17 to 24 with good paying construction jobs, is currently accepting applicants for its next cohort. Our Office of Violence Prevention in St. Louis is using our federal resources to hold youth pop-up events with movie nights, music, and more. And while this case did not involve a short-term rental, we've seen in the past how unrestricted short-term rental parties can endanger our youth. At the Board of Aldermen, they are currently considering a bill that would regulate short-term rentals in St. Louis, bringing us in line with fellow cities across the region. But this weekend's senseless violence highlights how we all can and must do more. The city of St. Louis has stepped up our investments in our youth, and we're turning plans into action. In partnership with the St. Louis Mental Health Board, the city will extend hours and increase programming at Wohl and Marquette Rec Centers on Fridays and Saturdays. We're looking for the program to start as soon as possible and run through August. This is another wake-up call for our region. All within the sound of my voice should feel the urgency of this moment. We need to create more opportunities and safe spaces for our young people. And I hope our civic, nonprofit, corporate, and philanthropic partners in our region will match or exceed our efforts, because it's clear that this is a regional problem and our solutions must be regional as well. Our problems don't stop at the Mississippi or Missouri rivers, and neither should our solutions. We also know that our state's lax gun laws make our challenge even more difficult. Despite a bipartisan push this session and the hard work of the St. Louis delegation, the Missouri legislature failed to restrict minors from carrying guns, a common sense solution to keep dangerous weapons out of the hands of children. The legislature's lack of action on gun safety laws encourages the proliferation of guns on our streets and puts our responding officers directly in harm's way. This is a no-win situation. And we need our community to step up too. Downtown St. Louis brings together tens of thousands of people from across the country for world-class sports and entertainment on a weekly basis, especially during the summer months. Everyone is welcome downtown, and I mean that. But at the same time, I need families to hear me loud and clear. Downtown is not a 1 a.m. destination for your 15-year-old. It's a rule I make very clear in my own household, and it's not a place to drop children off unsupervised. And we must do everything we can to keep guns out of the hands of our babies. If you keep a gun in the home, practice responsible gun ownership. Keep your gun out of reach, lock it, and store the ammunition in a separate space. I know on mornings like these, waking up to this heartbreaking news and this tragedy can feel overwhelming. But I know that every single person here today, along with countless community partners, are using every tool in the toolbox to make St. Louis safer for our babies. Wrap your arms around your children today as we mourn, because I will wrap my arms around mine. Thank you, and I'll turn it over to Chief Tracy.
Thank you, Mayor. And with me from the Police Department, I have Lieutenant Colonel Renee Kreisman, who's the head of our crime control strategies. Also, Major Lawson is here. He was the on-scene supervisor last night that we have overnight supervision of a high rank that coordinated that scene. Major Lawson's here. Did a tremendous job last night, and the troops that showed up at the scene to render first aid, secure the scene, get evidence, and when I get into it, you'll hear some of the things that we had one in custody as well. And then the last person that's here, very important, is Lieutenant John Blaskowitz, who's our homicide lieutenant that's up here, who has control of the investigation, because we did have one shooting victim that resulted in a homicide. So at approximately 1:03 a.m. this morning, uniformed officers were manning fixed posts diverting vehicular traffic at the intersection of 14th and Washington, right there where the building is, only 100 feet away from where this building is. Observed a large number of individuals running from the building at 1409 Washington Avenue. As they were requesting additional assistance, multiple calls came in for a shooting at a party on the 5th floor where multiple people had been shot. Numerous officers from this detail, officers assigned to District 4, as well as uniformed and plainclothes detectives from various supporting units responded to the area immediately. Initial investigation indicates a large social gathering was held on the 5th floor of 1409 Washington Avenue, which is set up as an office space. The scene investigation revealed numerous shell casings from multiple firearms. Multiple firearms were recovered at the scene, including AR-style rifle pistols as well as a handgun, which was found in the possession of a person of interest who's a juvenile, which was taken into custody by plainclothes detectives responding immediately to the area. A total of 10 victims suffered apparent gunshot wounds, including the deceased, who's identified as 17-year-old Mikhail Moore. A 19-year-old male suffered gunshot wounds to his arm, groin, and legs. A 19-year-old male suffered gunshot wound to his back. An 18-year-old male suffered gunshots to his left side. A 17-year-old male suffered a possible graze wound to his face and refused further medical treatment after being treated by EMS and left the scene. A 16-year-old female suffered gunshot wounds to her leg. A 16-year-old female suffered a gunshot wound to the lower back. A 16-year-old female suffered an apparent graze wound to her ankle. And a 15-year-old female suffered an apparent graze wound to her left side. Additionally, a 17-year-old female was possibly trampled coming down the stairs, running from the scene, and has serious injuries to her spine at this time. This investigation is ongoing, but let me just say a couple things here. We're hearing almost 8 out of the 11 were juveniles, ages 15 to 19. 1 o'clock in the morning in an office building that we're trying to figure out who had authority to it, and we also know that this might have been a social gathering through social media that was direct message to individuals. It was planned in advance. We're still investigating who had access to it. We're investigating who was responsible for the party, and then we're also investigating as we talk to witnesses to make sure that we collect evidence, and as we process the evidence, get more leads to make a good case and bring those to justice that caused this. But what I'm trying to say, juveniles in possession of firearms, juveniles out at 1 o'clock in the morning. 6 of them were males, 5 were females, you can see. And more than half of that individuals, from including the suspect, who does not live in the city, and the 11 others, half of them live outside the city. So as the mayor said, people are coming downtown. It's a regional issue for juveniles to find things for them to do, but at the same time, it should be prohibited that juveniles do not carry guns. It should be prohibited. This is the first state and city that I come to where juveniles are not prohibited. It should at least mirror the federal law. So let's start there. And I think they tried to do that, and we had talked, and the mayor and I and her administration been down to Jeff City many times talking about the seriousness of this issue, and I think they tried to get it across, and the mayor hit on it, that they weren't able to do it this time. But we're going to keep pushing because we think it's too important to make sure that we at least start there, and I think that's reasonable. That's a reasonable start. But as always, when we have these cases, the investigation is active and ongoing. The Homicide Division responded and assumed the ongoing investigation, and anyone with information is urged to call the Homicide Division directly at 314-444-5371, or anyone with a tip who wants to remain anonymous and is interested in a reward can contact Crime Stoppers at 866-371-TIPS, which is 8477. I want to thank the quick response of these officers to the scene, the EMS workers that applied first aid in the hospitals that had to treat these individuals for a horrific event that shouldn't be happening. So I'm going to turn it over right now to Congresswoman Bush. Congresswoman.
All right. Hello, everyone. And first, let me start by saying thank you to Mayor Jones and thank you to Chief Tracy for holding this press conference today. Also, we want to thank our community partners who have come out and brought resources to St. Louis Metro Police Department for the swift response, and just like Chief Tracy said, also to the hospitals and to our EMS. Because when they show up to the scene, their lives are also at risk. Today, as we heard the mayor say, it's Father's Day. And rather than celebrating 10 fathers, father figures, families in our very own community are dealing with the unthinkable. Last night, they joined the many caregivers across the state and across this country who have had to go through the aftermath of a child being involved in a shooting. And why? Well, because of weak gun laws in the state of Missouri and across this country that are killing our children. Legislators that are blocking literal life-saving policies that could help protect our children and the very people they were elected to represent. And I take such offense to that, because when we sign up to represent people, we sign up to represent all the people. Because the truth is, we know how to tackle this preventable crisis. We can save lives, we can save our children, but state and federal lawmakers legislating from within the pockets of the NRA, they won't stop the harm. They are choosing guns over our children. They are choosing violence over safety. They are choosing death over life. We need to save lives. There are solutions rooted in public health that are on the table. As we heard from the mayor today, The City of St. Louis will be extending the hours and programming within youth rec centers across in several places in the city to give students a safe place to go, a place to have fun. Because that's what being a kid should be about, learning, growing, and having fun, not worrying about dying from a bullet. As we know programs like these work at reducing the rate of gun violence. Through the American Rescue Plan, we were able to secure $700 million in direct federal relief for municipalities in Missouri's 1st Congressional District. Money we've already seen go towards violence prevention programming, summer job opportunities, youth programs, community revitalization efforts, and direct cash payments. Research shows that investments like these can help reduce gun violence. The safety of our state and our communities is at risk because of the harmful gun laws enacted and upheld by Missouri's far-right state legislature. They are laser focused on passing laws to codify the rights of guns by taking away the right of our communities to live in safety. And it is despicable. And we know it's not just St. Louis. And it's not just Missouri. This is a crisis happening nationwide. And so when they point the finger at St. Louis, don't believe them and push back on it. Many of my colleagues in Congress, also being fed from the hands of the NRA, believe in protecting guns over protecting our communities. There are plenty of bills in Congress, including my own, the People's Response Act, which would adopt a holistic approach to public safety that understands that true public safety must be rooted in public health response. There are plenty of bills on the table that would acknowledge this crisis for what it is. It's a public health crisis. Those bills could save lives and they could prevent shootings like the horrific event right here in our community last night or early this morning. So the problem isn't a lack of solutions, but a lack of action. We need change. We need real systemic change because no father, no parent, or caregiver should have to experience the trauma of their child getting shot. So to the anti-gun safety lawmakers in Missouri, in the state legislature, the last thing I'll say is step up or step aside. Keep your mouth off St. Louis because we're doing the work. And if you want to join us, our arms are open and our ears are too. But if not, hands off our kids. These are our babies, and we will do everything we can to protect them. Now I will turn it over to Serena Muhammad.
Thank you. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the St. Louis Mental Health Board and why this partnership is important for our community. You've heard gun violence is a public health issue, and we have been treating it as such for several years, and we understand that it takes all of the community members working together to actually make progress on this issue. So as much as we appreciate our elected officials and our legislators doing everything within their power, we also ask that as community members, we figure out how we can contribute to the solution as well. So we are committed to this partnership with the City of St. Louis. We partner specifically with the Office of Violence Prevention and the Department of Public Health. We regularly convene organizations and individuals who are interested in providing safe spaces for young people, and we are intending to scale what we do. So what that means is that there's opportunity for additional community members, additional organizations to join and to figure out how to help us address this issue. We have met with rec center staff to understand exactly how we can build on their strengths. We know that the rec centers are already a trusted and safe space for countless families in the city of St. Louis, and we believe that by expanding access, it can also be a safe space for many more. We understand that this is a regional issue, so we work with our partners in St. Louis County to also provide programming in other areas of the region. So we ask that you really think about, as you are hearing this, what you can do to contribute to the solution that will take a regional effort. One of the things that we're focused on for youth engagement is looking at community wellness overall. So that means more programming over the summer, and we also reach out to the adults and caregivers who are working with young people. So we will be looking at out-of-school time programs, expanding access to those opportunities, downtown activation events, as well as neighborhood social events, actually being in community where people live and addressing some of the harm that happens in community as well. We want to be a resource to help communities and families recover from trauma, and we hope that you will partner with us as we advance these initiatives. You can find more information about how to connect with us and how to support this region-wide effort by going to our website, the St. Louis Area VPC.org. We appreciate your attention, and we hope that all of us can use this as a call to action to really begin to work together to serve our young people and families. Thank you.
All right, everyone, Chief Tracy will take some questions on this, any follow-up questions on specifics regarding the incident. Remember that the incident is still under investigation. We are still developing a full understanding of the situation. We'll take a few questions for the chief, and then we'll have more general questions for any of our other speakers.
Chief, can you tell us how old the suspect who was arrested was and where specifically he or she was from?
Right now, I believe 17 years old, and we believe, I'd rather not go with that, just outside the city, the address that we have on this individual.
Could you tell us about this building? Was it abandoned, or what do you know about what this building is?
I pretty much know this building pretty well because I have lived downtown in my short time that I've been here. So I know there's where people spilled out, there's a parking lot between 15th Street. So when Major Lawson immediately called me, he was on scene to do a great job coordinating this thing. A very chaotic incident, you can imagine. People pouring out, dozens of people pouring out, young people, in such a traumatic incident, and people hurt. Coming down that staircase that goes into their parking lot, 15th Street. From what I know about that building, they had some things. We looked at it to see if unlicensed premise. We've looked at it a lot of ways. We still got to do some investigations with buildings. We do know who the landlords are from an LLC. We're just trying to identify on that 5th floor who had control of that access. We do know this party was pre-planned. They did not give the address out. You had a direct message, the organizer. We do have information in the preliminary investigation from witnesses and also victims that gave us some information how they ended up at this place. So I don't really want to go too much to compromise the investigation. I got the homicide lieutenant here that him and I talked over about what I can. I want to give you as much information as possible, but I also want to protect the investigation so we can bring those to justice that were involved in this.
Have there been calls to this address before?
We haven't had any calls. I mean, there was not enough people in this, we could fit in this room, but I also have the major of Patrol Central, and also Pierre Benoist, who also is the commander of the 4th District. I talked to him about, he's been in that place for a couple of years. We have not had any problems with that. Maybe something going on the 1st floor, but one incident, no other calls for service, and certainly nothing on the 5th floor where this incident took place.
Chief, you mentioned the federal prohibition on minors or juveniles carrying handguns. We know that federal and local law enforcement often work together through task forces or other means.
Right.
Is there anything that stops your officers from referring charges or pursuing the enforcement of that federal law?
No, we have to do, the state and state rights, local rights, laws that are in place, that when it comes to the gun laws in this place, we have to honor that it's not prohibited for juveniles to carry firearms in the state of Missouri. Right now, what I meant to say is that the bill that was in place, that some of the legislators tried to put forth during this session, they tried to mirror it after the start just with the mirror the federal law, where it's prohibited for juveniles to carry firearms. If there are cases that can go federally, that we work with some of our federal partners, we will do that, as you've seen in the past. But when it comes to this, the state takes control of how we can charge, especially if a juvenile is carrying a firearm.
And especially in regards to the Second Amendment Preservation Act, which the city is doing with Jackson County and St. Louis County and currently fighting in court.
So we're on this case, we're going to we have to defer to the state, like Nick Desisteri just talked about. We defer, especially with juveniles, to the state rules, and we honor those, and we hope to change those.
But my question, though, was about the signal that stance sends to everyone listening to this press conference. Can you take action and push the envelope there?
We have arrested juveniles federally when they commit crimes, not just with not just a firearm alone, a possession with that. It's certainly something we've looked at in the past, and it's something we can do. And it's not out of the realm, but this investigation's early, and we'll take a look at it. And listen, it was only a few hours ago. I mean, it's the same day, 1 o'clock in the morning. More to come on this investigation. So I really can't comment where we're going to go with this investigation. I leave it up to my experts that are very good at what they do.
You might
Okay,
not
mentioned
hold up.
something about multiple guns being found. Does that mean that there's multiple shooters, or is that
The
an
co-
aspect of the investigation?
Quite possibly, quite possibly, different round shell casings that we found at the scene. Could be multiple shootings investigation. As we pick up and we know that we have, NIBIN, and we test the shell casings, what firearm they could come from. Investigation's really early, but that's the evidence that we secure, getting on the scene quickly, making sure we secure it, so then we can make a case and try to identify what gun was involved with who, and if anybody was in possession, if we can tie them to the case as a shooter.
So there could be more arrests.
Quite possible, yes.
There's information that indicates that this was a video shoot.
No,
Okay.
this is not a video shoot.
Okay, so
So
Chief,
this-
you indicated that it was controlled movement, it was on the 5th floor, they had to get access to the building. Now, we were on scene last night before the shooting. There were 100 or so people on the parking lot. The night before, maybe about the same, 100 people. Officers didn't come and clear that parking lot until 3:30 in the morning on
Right.
Friday. Saturday, there were no police really in that area for that crowd. So, I mean, you had a quick response, but where was the officers to actually control that group before the shooting?
Well, I'm going to challenge you with the amount of activity that's happened on Friday night and the investment that we make downtown and the amount of activity that our officers are trying to change behavior to keep people safe. There's places that they're congregated at Market, Keenan Square, downtown in Washington, cruising. So there's a lot of things in the behavior the last several years where people are coming downtown. When people are congregating, are they actually breaking the law as they're congregating in that area? Our officers have to make sure that they're trying to control the areas, and I don't know if
But
they're.
your officers are not engaging, they're only riding past. We've been down there filming those children for the last month or so.
Well, I'm going to have to challenge you on that officers are not engaging. If you see the amount of activity that's going on.
They don't engage with the children, they come through, blare horns, they move them from one spot to the next, and no one's really doing anything. They're children. So when you come through, all they do is just take off running. That's what makes it seem like something is happening because they're running from the horns. That causes everyone else to run. Then they run over here, then the officers come over there and do the same thing. And that's the only thing that's happening. Most of those children down there are over the age of 18. Yes, there are a few that spread out throughout the group. Most of those children are over 18. Every interview that we've done, they're going to the Marines, everyone has graduated, everyone's trying to do something with their life.
Do you have a question?
That was my
Okay,
question.
thank
What
you.
are your officers doing
So my officers,
downtown to curb
would you
the
let me
children?
answer, please? You asked your question, let me answer, please. We are working a holistic view where we have other Office of Violence Prevention, we have ambassadors, we have people, you heard mental health services. We are working through the mayor's office and different agencies are trying to reach out and do things with the individuals that are down there. What we're trying to do is keep the downtown as safe as possible with large crowds. Do we get it right all the time? No. As you can see, shootings do happen sometimes. But we are making sure that we're keeping downtown safer. We're trying to control the traffic, and there is a lot of people down there. I do not want to start mass arresting people just because they're down there over the age, because they're allowed to go downtown. We want it to be welcome, but we have to make sure that we don't allow conditions to start in certain areas where different parts, not just that area, but Market Street, Locust Street, Olive Street, there's areas, Keenan Square. We're trying to make sure everybody has a safe experience down there. And so that's what we have to do. Next question.
Chief
Tracy.
Yes, ma'am.
Question for Chief Tracy.
Next question.
What is your strategy in partnering with local business, the local business community, for those areas you talked about? You want downtown to be welcoming. We see the city trying to get companies to come into downtown, but you see this kind of behavior and it may detract people from, ooh, I don't want to go down there and be in the mix of that. How do you balance those, and what does that relationship look like with the business community?
Well, the business community has been complimenting the last several weeks on how much they've seen improvement down in the area because we're trying to control behavior and make sure it doesn't get out of control. Unfortunately, when something happens inside a location like this, very difficult to get to, that's one that you have to respond to. And maybe because of the things that we're doing, maybe it has moved things inside. I don't know. The investigation continues. But dealing with the businesses, speaking with them, they actually, a lot of the business are very happy the way things are going, where we're redirecting traffic, we're trying to have more presence downtown, we're trying to make sure that we don't get it always right, but we're working on it, and then we work with other partners, and the business people have actually, there's been comments the last 4 or 5 weeks, this incident now is going to set us back, but certainly there's context now that this was up on the 5th floor. How did it get up there? Let's get into an investigation. And we have a tragic incident that's happening that we're trying to prevent everywhere downtown, and we're trying to address it from so many different ways. But we're going to continue to do it. We're going to work with our partners. We're going to do outreach. We're going to try to find good ways for outlets for people to come downtown, be safe, and then just make sure that where you're going to congregate and where there has been issues in the past, we have to address. And we're going to try to do that.
And one more question for Chief Tracy.
Was that 5th floor vacant, or was it active office space, or can you describe what that 5th floor looks like?
5th floor, from what I understand, Major Lawson gave me an update from the scene as in real time, but it's office space with cubicles. And so these cubicles, it's a cubicle setting. It's actually an office space setting that is not set up for socializing. It's not set up for sleeping or any of those things. It is an office space. So we were kind of surprised to see something like that because we've seen short-term rentals and possibly Airbnbs where we've had problems in the past.
But as of right now, this doesn't look like a short-term rental or...
No, but it does look like we have to find out, are they renting out this space? Or how did they access this space? And that's part of the investigation that continues right now. So thank you very much.
All right, questions for the mayor, questions for the congresswoman?
Mayor Jones, you mentioned sort of an unrelated bill about short-term rentals, but didn't mention another bill at the Board of Aldermen right now, which would allow police to issue a fine or some sort of safe harbor provision for anyone who has doesn't have a concealed carry permit and does have a gun. Can you clarify, do you see that as an effective tool? Can that work? Is that something you support?
We're still investigating the constitutionality of that bill. So our city councilor is still taking a look at that to see if that's an effective tool. But we're also looking at other tools, other bills that can be introduced.
So speaking to youth, you know, that I've spoken with the last about 6 months who have said, I own guns, you know, they're under 18, it's legal to do that in this state. They've talked about how it's a status symbol, in part. How do you partner with community organizations to kind of break that cultural aspect of it? Because obviously the legislative is a little more challenging to do, so how do you get kids to not pull out a gun whenever they have a disagreement?
Right, that is difficult, because I remember when I was a child and we had fights, you know, somebody got a black eye or a broken nose and you live to tell about it. But now our kids pull a gun at the first sight of disagreement. So we have our community violence intervention partners that are within neighborhoods across our city, interacting with our young people, trying to give them a different alternative, but also we're handing out free gun locks everywhere we can. At every community pop-up I went to yesterday for Juneteenth, they were giving out gun locks. And we will continue to do that. We have to promote responsible gun ownership. So if they see gun ownership as a status symbol, they should also see responsible gun ownership as a status symbol.
Mayor Jones, you mentioned, you know, as well as Congressman Bush, that we have a lot of solutions that have been discussed and talked about, and there's been kind of a lack of action. Is there anything else that you can do, maybe a curfew or something like that, that could promote more safety?
We're doing all that we can. And as I talked about before, this is a regional problem. It's not just a city problem. And as we did last month, we pulled together all of our regional leaders to talk about gun violence in our city. So you had the county executives from both sides of the river, from Madison all the way to Franklin. And I am still pushing on them to make sure that they can have opportunities for young people in those places as well. Our kids need safe and fun activities in their own neighborhoods. I'm not saying at all that they're not welcome downtown, but downtown at 1 a.m. is not a place for an unsupervised 15-year-old or juvenile. So we have to make sure that we have activities going on around the region for our young people to visit with their friends and stay safe.
What is the plan to involve the youth in these discussions? Oftentimes we hear media such as ourselves, or even you guys, you know, talk about what needs to happen, what should happen, or, you know, things to come. But we never actually hear from the youth themselves.
So we've had youth pop-up events in parks across the city with the Office of Violence Prevention, and young people have been telling us what they want to see. as we will be opening our rec centers to late hours for the rest of the summer. We expect young people to come in again and give us their voice and tell us what they want to see. And then I went straight to the source myself. I have a 15-year-old in my home. So I asked him, what do young people do on the weekends?
One last question. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, and he told me some of the things that they're interested in. I offered him, I said, well, if there are parties at the rec centers in neighborhoods, will you and your friends go? And he said yes. He also told me about the friends that he doesn't deal with, who again are picking up weapons and see having a weapon as a status symbol with the rest of his friends, but he stays away from them.
Is there legislation to deal with the sale of ammunition or these magazines that shoot? We actually go on scenes where there are maybe 60 or 70 shell casings on the scene, and we would hope that at some point legislation is introduced to combat maybe the ammunition and the magazines that allow these weapons to shoot so many times, which actually puts the entire community at risk.
There are several pieces of legislation, speaking about what you're talking about, but also a different way to tax ammunition. So there is legislation on the federal level, but the issue is we don't have, as I said before, when we have legislators who are taking all of this money from the NRA, this is not what they want to see, and they are not willing to vote yes on those bills. We can only get those bills across if we have that number to get those bills across. We have been working and advocating. Folks have been doing this for years. Our office has been pushing. We have co-sponsored legislation. We don't have the support in the Congress to get that legislation across. So we will continue to do that. And let me say something, though, in response to what Cameron brought up. As far as engaging our youth, so, and the mayor knows this as well, we have a youth advisory council who is a part of our office. It's the Congress in Your Classroom. These are youth, high school students from across the district, Missouri's 1st District, who are engaging with us every single month. We have meetings. I meet with them myself, too. It's not just my team. Our entire team meets with them, and we talk about what they want to talk about, the issues. We're working on legislation together. They put together their own legislation. We're working on getting that introduced. So we are working and talking with the youth. We bring them. They are the table. We come and sit at that table. So we are working with the youth, not just on this particular issue. This is the biggest issue that they want to talk about, but we're talking about this issue among other issues. So we are doing that work, and we do that in relation to the mayor's office.
All right, just 2 more questions, everyone.
There's been a lot of talk about the social status around some of these crimes in the last few years, especially. It seems like an increasing trend. But the juvenile justice system often conceals identities and protects people for good reason. At some point, do you think these crimes that involve guns or violence, should any of that system change at all to add more personal accountability for these juveniles? How do you weigh that issue?
I think that what we have to also remember as we're trying to keep people safe, safety also includes not criminalizing our children. And so we have to look at who are the ones who are making the decisions. Children aren't making the decisions about what the laws are on the federal, the state, or the local level. We need to make sure, and children have a caregiver. Children live in a home with a parent or someone who's taking care of them. That's where our work has to be as far as the umbrella of how things move and the information that goes out to those children. But we're the ones, we teach and we educate our children. So no, I do not see opening anything up to where we get to name, this 14-year-old or anything like that, because the things that people do at 14, what you do at 18 is not the same thing that you will do. Even 22 is not the same thing you may do at 42. So I absolutely am against that. But what I will say is we not only have to make sure that our lawmakers are doing the work, We have to equip our families to be able to not only do the work, but have the support. Our families need the support to be able to do this work. That's why we're working to bring more resources, because one thing that we also won't do is we don't want to criminalize and we don't want to villainize families. We want to give them what they need to be able to be whole so that this community is safe. The community is about families, is about people, it's about individuals actually investing to make our communities unified and whole.
Mayor Jones, Representative Peter Meredith introduced legislation this last legislative cycle that would create a red flag law, and House Speaker Blocker didn't even give it to committee. So how do you plan to work with Republicans in Jefferson City in finding a solution legislatively to these issues?
We have to keep pushing. We have to keep pushing, and if the legislature won't take it up, we still have the opportunity to go straight to the ballot through the initiative petition process.
Is that something that you would be looking to do?
All right, thanks, everyone.
It's possible. We have to look at all of our options.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.